This is a review for the Ouray KOA located in Ridgway, Colorado, just north of Ouray. This is Site 25 at the Ouray KOA, and this site is considered 50 feet. We definitely can fit in here. We are 38 feet when it's all said and done. We actually have an Essex parked next to us, and they're 44 feet, and they seem to be fitting okay too. So it's actually pretty long. What's nice too, let me show you right across the way, is that there's this big open dirt spot. It's kind of like an extra parking or trailer parking and stuff like that, because a lot of people are jeeping down here. And that means that you can pull into that and then back into the spot. And so that worked really well for us. We have full hookups here. So we have septic and 50 amp and water. And they do still have the water running. This is the second week of September. This KOA actually closes November 30th, and then they are closed for the winter season. So they don't worry about turning off the water because they just turn it off when they're done for the season. You can see we have a grill, a fire pit, and a picnic table. And fortunately, there have not been fire restrictions, so we have been able to do a campfire at night. Now it is Sunday afternoon, and so the park has pretty much cleared out a lot. There were plenty of trailers parked across over here and lots of other spots that were being utilized. They do have cabins, and I'll go through and show some video of what some of the other spots look like around the campground, and I'll show you a map of the places that I thought a big rig could fit. Because when we first came here, I'll show you our first site. I'm actually going to walk over there. Our first site that we had was really tight to get into. So that was a struggle. And then we had too much for trees and everything, and our Starlink could not work because it's nice and beautiful how they have the trees, but unfortunately the Wi-Fi here is really poor. You can use it a little bit if you are right next to the campground, but you're going to struggle to use it anywhere else, right by the camp store, but you're going to struggle to use it anywhere else on the campground. So you're not really going to be able to rely on Wi-Fi if you're trying to use this for work, which is our case. But let me just turn around and show you. When we moved over to this area, you can see on top of that rig, they have their satellite for their TV. It's nice and open, and you have a pretty good distance until you get to trees and stuff like that. So our Starlink right now is getting like 80 megabytes per second. So it's really getting a nice speed. And so that part has been great. This is the site that we were first put into, and it looks narrow. It actually goes back a pretty good distance. So we were able to fit in that case. It was a little bit tough because our slides, our right slide, driver's slide hit this right tree, and then that left tree was right where our other slide was. But we got it to work. We actually made it work for one night, but it was kind of tough to park into it because right there where that KOA truck is pulling, it was loaded with cars. And fortunately, there was a little bit of a gap, and so Jeremy could pull forward and then back into the spot. But overall, there's going to be better spots that are just a little bit easier to get into. Some of the lodging that they have here are cabins, so you can see what the cabins look like. And then there is a pet walk. There's some different little walking trails around here. There's a river, small river that kind of goes through the area. You can see a couple of the cabins are very rustic. The original cabins, probably for this KOA. There's even some teepees, but apparently we were told that they no longer rent them out. So you're not allowed to stay in the teepees anymore, but you are allowed to come check them out and kind of hang out at the teepees and just have fun playing in them. And so the kids have enjoyed doing that this week. Then out past the teepees, you get to the area where the mining sluice is at. And this is kind of water that goes into a trough pretty much, where you can shake a pan that has a bunch of dirt and stuff, and you can pan for gold. So that's the concept. They actually have some bags down at the visitor center that you can pay for. That's pretty much, you know, dirt and rocks, but then they have some different, you know, beads and different rocks and things like that that the kids can find as their jewels and their treasure that they get from mining. Here's a little bit more information about that. Even if you do not have a pet with you, I highly recommend taking the pet walk area that is in the back of the park. This actually will go up in elevation and take you to kind of a plateau on that mountain that is in the backside of the campground, and it'll give you a bird's eye view back down onto the campground. They have a bench that's up here so you can sit and take a little break and just get to enjoy the views and relax a little bit. And then the path eventually is going to we actually didn't even quite make it to the end because I know it goes over to an employees only area. So then we worked our way back over and back out through the exit. I think maybe it goes all the way around the employees only area and then comes out of the park towards the front of the park. Okay, and then looking back here at the campground towards the front office. So these are some of the other spots that I thought would be a pretty good fit for our RV. And then you can see the office is right over here, the A-frame building, and then behind it they actually have a restaurant. So they didn't have it open every day of the week. I think sometimes it's just based on how much they have for staffing and whether or not they can be open. My in-laws did eat there though, and they thought it was nice. So they do have a restaurant that's right there on site. And then of course you're not that far out of town, probably about 10 to 15 minutes from downtown Ouray, where you can enjoy getting a great bite to eat too. As you can see, some of the other spots at the campground, I really enjoyed this front area with these pergola spots. And if we come back, well, when we do come back, because we're in this area a lot, we'll definitely be staying in one of these spots. And I'll point out where these are on the map. They actually have a pond that's right here. They had it drained right now, and I don't know if they're doing that for maintenance or they're planning to close the pond. This is the map of the park, and so I just wanted to point out a few things for you. This is the spot where we were at the start, where I said that only because the parking lot across from it was open were we able to even fit into this. I would say that these spots over here would be long enough. So you can see you've got 118, like 119, 120. Those would have been long enough. We ended up being in this spot, 25, so these were long enough. And they had a wall behind us, as you saw, but you had nice north-facing views, so that was good for the Starlink in our case. This route up here is actually a really nice loop. Oh, it's one way this way. Is a really nice loop for large RVs. So these are all pull-throughs, and I believe that we could have fit in any of these spots. Now, they were all booked, and you can lock in your actual site number at this KOA, which means that, you know, people know that every time they come, they want to be in 98, and so they pre-book that. So if you're coming, you may want to lock into a spot. I think you have to pay a little extra, but at least you know you're going to fit. These would all fit a large RV. And then the other ones that I wanted to point out that I actually think are my favorite are these up in the front. And so the next time we head back, we'll definitely be staying at one of these. Now, if you have DirecTV or some other satellite that's facing south, that's in this direction. And right behind here is a big mountain that comes way high. So there's no way you're going to get any reception. But if you only have a north-facing satellite, which would be Starlink, this is perfect because you have this big pond here, so you don't have any trees till about this area, and it means you have a big open space to get a connection and use your Starlink. Okay, at the end of this video, I wanted to point out some other great things to do in Ouray. We have a larger video that goes through Ouray in more detail, but there's obviously a ton of jeeping trails and places where you can enjoy jeeping. Oh, by the way, for jeeping, you can actually rent a Jeep at the Ouray KOA. It's $250 for the day. They do take a deposit. I would highly recommend, we have a bunch of videos with the Jeep trails in Ouray. I would highly recommend doing something that's considered a green and doing something that's definitely beginner level. I wouldn't be taking somebody else's rented Jeep up onto Engineer or Imogene or Black Bear Pass or any of those other places. So definitely stick to things like Yankee Girl area, which is over in Red Mountain. That's a good one to do. Maybe go up to Camp Bird. You can also just go into town and walk the town. It's a really cool historical town, great places to eat. We enjoyed a couple different restaurants while we were in town. The other great thing is the hot springs. So they have hot springs here and there's multiple pools. It's family friendly. If you go to the main Ouray hot springs, I would caution that the Orvis hot springs used to have a swimsuit optional deal. So just be careful when you're taking your family to hot springs that you know what you're getting into, but the Ouray main hot springs is totally fine. They have kids pool pools, and then they have some adult-only pools. And they have a cool koi pond and some food, and you can even get a massage while you're there. So a bunch of different options to do while you're at the Ouray Hot Springs. Right next door to the hot springs is a free public access playground that's really large and a great space. There's also a big picnic gazebo area that you can enjoy lunch. There's a big green space where you can play soccer or play with your dog. So just great open spaces. Box Canyon is another really cool thing to check out when you're in Ouray. And again, we'll have more details about that on our other video, which covers all the things like pricing and hours and stuff like that according to current timelines on everything. You are also in mining country, so definitely check out one of the old Colorado mines. We went to the Bachelor Syracuse mine and we really enjoyed our time here. There are a different couple mines that you can go to, so this is just one to check out, but we really highly recommend this one. You could also consider a day trip out to Telluride. It takes about an hour, but definitely worth it if you have never been. This is one of our favorite towns in Southwest Colorado. Beautiful to see. Definitely head up to Bridal Veil Falls, at least to the base of the waterfall, and check that out. And the nearby town of Ridgway has a fun little Old West town, and then they have some old railroad memorabilia stuff and places that the kids can play, and a really nice outdoor playground and different festivals and stuff that go on. So Ridgway is definitely a cool place to check out as well. I hope this review was useful for you in deciding whether or not you want to stay at the Ouray KOA for your trip to Ouray, Colorado. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you have questions, please feel free to ask those, and we try to answer all questions. Also, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at RV Homeschool. Thanks so much for watching.